As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is sponsored by State Farm. Choices are great. Like with your podcasts, you get to choose what you want to listen to. And State Farm believes insurance should work the same way. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you get the coverage you want at an affordable price and a policy that helps cover what you value most. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com today to create your State Farm Personal Price Plan. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Double Twist. Thank you once again for joining me today. What was a solid victory, a quiet kind of a day. You didn't really get jumping out of your seats except for maybe the constant flags that took place, particularly in the first half. It got kind of ridiculous, like every other frickin' call. Every other frickin' play, there was another flag, somebody defensive holding, this, that. Though some of the calls were accurate, I suppose. But Minnesota wins 20-7 in a ho-hum, quiet, defensive game over the Detroit Lions. So at the end of the day, the theme is, well, 1 down, 3 to go. Because if you're a Minnesota Viking player, Minnesota Viking fan, who's serious about making some kind of a run this year, which you might as well do. I mean, your quarterback is playing very well. He wasn't perfect today. He certainly wasn't. He actually had one of those little mental gaffes that didn't end in disaster. That thankfully, and just about did. Gosh, Bradbury's first NFL reception was because the ball bounced off the Detroit defender into his hands rather than an interception, which could have maybe got Detroit back in the game. That was a scary moment. But no, Kirk Cousins solid today. But no, if you're serious about making some kind of a run, you got to get to 12-4. I mean, it's plain and simple. Minnesota, of course, finishing things off and are now 9-4. You got the Chargers coming up, Green Bay and Chicago to wrap up the season. So 12-4 is very much realistic, if not, if not like a guarantee. It's very much realistic. It's a real chance. I think the Vikings should win both of their home games. They won't be easy. Chicago's surging a bit. Green Bay is always dangerous just because they are, even though they didn't look that good today. But the Vikings didn't exactly look good against Denver or Washington either. So look at it that way. Today, there was never really a doubt that the Vikings were going to win the game. It was just, it got kind of doggone boring. It really did. It was like 7-0 forever. It got real boring. And then things kind of turned up a bit. Obviously, Dan Bailey got his 27-yard kick, and he made everything today. Made his extra points and made a couple of field goals, including a 50-yarder, which is nice. That felt good. So, yeah, last week missing the extra point, that was extremely frustrating, making the Vikings have to, push for a touchdown rather than try to tie it with a field goal. But at least you go for the win, because going into OT, I don't know, in Seattle, not easy either. Dalvin Cook, of course, he, worked on falling the right way, this and that. He was very solid. He comes out of the game okay. He's not hurt, so that's good, at least not from what we're hearing. 18 carries in the day, 62 yards, about 3.5. He did get in the end zone, never got loose, nor did Madison, but a solid overall day for the offense. Mike Boone, again, trying to move the chains a bit, which he did once, but not twice down the stretch, giving Detroit a small glimmer of hope that ended in, just not happening. Vikings almost fumbled away the frickin' onside kick, though. That was a little scary. The squid kick, onside kick, whatever, after the Lions finally scored their first touchdown very late. Mike Zimmer not happy. You always hear about the last shutout by the Vikings over Detroit way back in December 5th, 1993. Gosh, that was almost exactly 26 years ago. Today's December the 8th, of course. Wow, that's crazy, but it just didn't happen. They bring it up, and then it doesn't happen again. That was kind of something, but no, you almost got the shutout. You feel a lot better after a couple of games where the Vikings just gave up yardage after yardage. In fact, It hasn't been a couple. That's been several. You saw Xavier Rhodes in one series, out one series, kind of in and out, kind of about 50% of the time, about 50% of the game. Xavier Rhodes was in there. He had an ankle injury on Harrison Smith's interception. David Blau, not a good pass at all, of course. Not a good game for David Blau after a promising performance against against Chicago not too long ago. Obviously, Thanksgiving Day. That was a pretty good game for David Blau. It's like, yeah, we're going to leave him in versus Driscoll there. As, of course, Stafford with the back issues, probably not going to play again this year just because they're probably better off. What's the point? I mean, the season's over for Detroit. They've lost their 9th game. The most games they could possibly win are what? They could go 6-9-1. Like, yay. Woohoo. So their chances of making the playoffs are completely kaput. There's no sense in putting your franchise quarterback out there for a potential disaster. Moving forward, that's what I say. Even if it's just something completely different, unrelated to the back. I mean, crazy things happen. Guys roll up on players, and bad things happen. It's not worth it in a meaningless game at this stage. There's just nothing impressive about Detroit right now, and of course, at the same time, you feel for them a little bit because they've had injury after injury. Like, guys are going down over and over throughout the game. Even Darius Slay was banged up after doing a pretty good deflection on Stephon Diggs, but Diggs also big-time 44-yard reception, which helped get the Vikings their second touchdown. That felt damn good down the stretch. Oh, yes. Olabisi Johnson with his third touchdown reception early on, and then Cook ended up jumping over the pylon rather than kicking it over. He jumped over it, which is pretty cool. Obviously, so he did clear and did get in the end zone. Got the Vikings up 17-0, and at that point, you pretty much figured that's pretty much it. Detroit, there's just no way. There's just no way they're going to mount a comeback. Sometimes it's just it felt ultimately like a preseason game to me. David Blau is the guy you're going to see during a preseason game, and maybe once in a blue moon in a regular season game. It's a depleted, banged up, injured team that probably doesn't want to play for their coach at this point. Probably doesn't. A defense that's was always talking about bend but don't break with New England. I bring this up every bleeping week. You're probably tired of hearing it. But and it's just broke time and time again. Vikings offense wasn't that impressive today. Detroit's defense actually was okay. They were solid. It just felt like a preseason game today. It really did. You didn't really see the pizzazz and all that you want to see. You did see it defensively. You did see Danielle Hunter get 3 sacks in the game, which was awesome. You saw pressure on Blau, but you also saw sacks that probably shouldn't have been sacks if David Blau kind of knew what he was doing out there. Like Kirk Cousins, would say, get rid of the damn ball. You're being rushed. Get rid of the ball. Just simply throw it away. I'd rather punt than get sacked. This type of thing. I'd rather wind up punting than getting sacked. Incomplete pass moving forward. Maybe it's second and 6 or something. Now it's 3rd and 20, because you just got sacked like a mile back. It's not worth it at all. So just simply get rid of the ball. 3rd and 6, you still got a chance, rather than, doing what David Blau did time and time in this game, which cost the Lions dearly. It is what it is. It's lack of experience. He's an adequate backup quarterback who might have some promise someday, but it's, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to bash on the Lions too much because, we saw them sweep us years ago, especially during the TCF Bank era. They kind of kicked our butts a couple times when they had a damn good defensive line. Man, they sure did. And, of course, Matthew Stafford was throwing for his 4,500 to 5,000 yards every freaking year. That was not easy. Not easy at all. But an efficient game by Kirk Cousins, an efficient game by the Vikings offense. Again, you never really felt like the Detroit Lions were really going to threaten this team. You never really felt that. And that's a good thing. It's just over for Detroit. It's flat out over. Galladay had some moments, but he also had a pass interference call against him. So it just kind of is what it is. Or it was pass interference where he was blocking downfield before the ball was thrown. So that's kind of almost like a rookie type of thing. That comes back on the coaching because Galladay's an established guy. It's not like he just started. So I don't know. That was kind of lame. That just reeked of poor coaching. And I don't know. And just a dumb play by a good player, too. It's a combination of both. You can't always blame the coach for everything, but I don't know. Not good. Stephon Diggs is traditional. He always has a good game against the Detroit Lions, and he did once again today. Again, that 44-yard reception, which ultimately led to Dalvin Cook's touchdown and his 13th of the season, which is way up at the top there in the NFL. Second in the whole NFL in total yardage. And that's, again, with missing significant time, a couple games, but generally speaking, Dalvin Cook has got all-pro written all over him. Laquan Treadwell had a huge 36-yard reception in the game. Love what we're seeing out of Laquan Treadwell. 42 yards, only targeted twice in the game, but caught both of the balls coming his way. And that 36 yards was earned. He caught it about 20 yards downfield. He broke a tackle, used his physicality, and moved forward a few more. And that was awesome. Laquan Treadwell's starting to look like the kind of guy you want to keep around. And it's hard to believe we're actually saying that. I mean, you'd rather have him than a lot of guys right now. He's actually finally turning into an NFL wide receiver. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him. Ola BC Johnson, or as the announcer said, just Johnson. I don't know if he was afraid to even say the name. I don't know. Only made the touchdown catch. All he does is catch touchdowns, so maybe he's the next Chris Carter. 9-yard reception in the end zone very early. And again, Garrett Bradbury made his first reception in the NFL a loss of 4 yards because there was a potential interception that was batted, and Garrett Bradbury ultimately brings it in, saving the day there. We also saw an urban legend today. Here's an urban legend for today's game. Matt Prater misses kicks? I didn't think he did. I've never seen him miss one. I've never seen Matt Prater miss a kick. This guy makes them from 65 yards, 60 yards, 50 yards, 40 yards, 30 yards, and by the way, 62 yards or whatever the heck else. He'll make it 55 and win. He'll make it whenever, whatever. Detroit, one thing they have, other than, of course, Barry Sanders many years ago, one thing Detroit has had since I started watching football like full-time, 16 games a year, they've had kickers. They have absolutely had kickers going back to Jason Hansen all the way up to Matt Prater now. And it was pretty much Hansen to Prater. I mean, pretty much. I mean, Hansen was the kicker forever, going all the way back to 92. What a great kicker he was. And Matt Prater is, you could say he's Hansen's accuracy, Hansen's consistency with a lot more strength. He's as good a kicker as you'll ever see, and he missed one today from about 44 yards out. And again, this was after a golden opportunity was blown by Detroit. And another rookie mistake down the stretch by Blow, which, it cost Detroit a chance to get in the end zone. They wound up missing the kick, and next thing you know, that's when the big play happened. The momentum went completely the other way, like it always does in the National Football League. That's when you had the Stephon Diggs 44-yard reception, and things went completely the other direction. Quinton Colquitt, or I just keep calling him Quinton. It's Britton Colquitt. I'm never going to get it right. Still no touchbacks on the season. He's an awesome punter, obviously. Didn't have quite the yardage because he was usually closer to midfield when he was punting. At least the Vikings would get one first down along the way, where Sam Martin was punting from God knows where. And that's why he averaged about 50 yards a punt. Boy, Detroit's got good kickers. They've got good kickers, but obviously they have a couple of good defenders, Darius Slay, but most of those excellent defensive linemen long gone years ago. Linval Joseph much more solid today than he was in past weeks. Everson Griffin was able to get the blow along the way as well. Blow. And again, Danielle Hunter now up to 12.5 on the year with 3 sacks. And Jaleel Johnson bringing in his second sack of the year. Good for him. Obviously another guy trying his best to fill in for the long gone Kevin Williams position of 3 technique. Long gone Kevin Williams, of course. How he just couldn't keep Sheldon around. Sheldon Richardson. I wish. Mike Hughes, very solid today. Got a batted away pass early on in a key third down play, which ended up forcing a punt, of course. Holden Hill was solid out there. Chris Boyd had a very nice tackle on the gunner play. He was the gunner out there, preventing any type of a kick return on one of those. That's the one tackle he had. Loved what I saw from Chris Boyd. He's definitely improved, at least on the special team, so he'll probably hang around. If he's able to bring guys down. A lot of frustrating penalties throughout the game today. That some of them were honest penalties. The Stephen Weatherly had a roughing the passer where he's just kind of getting up into the quarterback's grill, basically. And, of course, and next thing you know, it's roughing the passer. So he couldn't believe it. He did that funny pose a lot of us do when we're shocked. We just threw our arms out real fast. I love that. That was hilarious. Oh, that was hilarious. I'm sorry. It was. Danielle Hunter, though, just phenomenal throughout the game today. Eric Hendricks continuing to be one of the most underrated linebackers in the entire NFL. I truly believe. Trey Wayne's very solid. Not great, but solid. He got beat on some occasions, but it was never anything that bad. He'd bring the players down. He didn't knock any passes away. Shamar Stephen, it was right out of the gate, just like last week where he had the block. I kept calling it Akeem Olajuwon. Shamar Stephen batting away another pass very early in the game, which was cool. That was David Blau struggling very early in the game. And, of course, the interception that wrapped things up. When Detroit was trying and not playing the clock well, you're throwing in the middle of the field with limited timeouts, less than a minute left, and you have to score twice. I don't know. They were throwing in the middle of the field. I don't know, man. I mean, don't you want to go to the sidelines once in a while? Unless you're hoping that the Vikings secondary is that awful, they're going to trip on themselves, trip on their left feet, which could happen once in a while. But it didn't. And, well, it is what it is there. Andrew Sendejo doing another one of his last-second interceptions, kind of like those hockey players that get those empty net goals at the last second. A guy who scores maybe 3 goals a year. Oh, there it is, empty net. Empty net goal for, yeah. For Joel Eriksson-Ek. No, I'm kidding. He's a little better than that, but Joel Eriksson-Ek is, and of course he provides great defense. Anderson Dejo, yeah, I don't know. He's okay. It's nice to see him again, but I'm telling you, I got a feeling about Marcus Epps that he's going to resurface one day, and they're going to say, former 6th-round pick by Minnesota that we let go in order to claim Anderson Dejo off waivers. I don't know. Maybe Anderson Dejo gets a ring with Minnesota. We'll see. Wouldn't that be nice if things go that direction? I'd feel good for him. But I'm telling you, Marcus Epps, I got a feeling about that guy. He might not be a whole lot now, but you never know. I got a feeling he's going to develop into a pretty solid safety. Really like what he was doing in Wyoming last season and the years before, but especially last season. Again, a solid game today. You can tell I'm kind of subdued. You've heard all the different emotions that I've had over the years. Today's just one of those days, more subdued because it was kind of, can we be honest, it was a pretty boring game. It was a pretty boring game. You notice I keep talking about preseason, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to call this a preseason game. I'm going to literally call this episode 1 down, 3 to go because I want 12-4, damn it. I want 12-4, maximize what could happen here. 12-4 was a pretty good record. It got us to the NFC title game in 2009. That's the last time the Vikings were 12-4. Of course, we won the division, got a first-round bye. Might happen because, well, the Saints might not get a first-round bye because the things didn't work out for them at the end. In one of the most epic, entertaining football games I've seen in quite a while. That was a good one. Seattle became epic as the game progressed last week, but Vikings almost got their butts kicked. That was really insanity. Because now we get a train coming here in the background. Man, one thing after another. But, yeah, hopefully that's the Vikings. Here we go. This is the Vikings the next 3 games, right? Come on, blow your damn horn already. Okay, that was interesting. I guess there we go. He's as subdued as I am. Yeah, I figure, you know what? Let it go. let it show in the show. Yes, get out of my way. I'm coming. I'm coming through. Vikings train coming through. 12-4. Might as well enjoy it while it's here. It's a golden opportunity to get a train coming through the episode here because yes, there's a train track right outside the apartment here. It's not that far away. I could throw a rock and hit the train right now. I'd have to throw it a little hard, but we probably might hit a tree on the way though. So, yeah, you got some good defensive trees in front of the train there. So, yeah, that's Dalvin Cook running the ball through the Packers, hopefully, and the Chargers and the frickin' Bears. Yeah, hopefully that happens. I really hope so. I'm borderline distracted right now, but again, was it that high quality of a game? You know what I'm happy about? I'm happy that the Vikings defense looked a little better today. But again, how excited can you get? Even though David Blau did pretty well against what we thought and what we still believe is a pretty good Chicago defense. That defense isn't going to drop off that quick. It's not like the Bears defense was good in 2017 compared to 19 or something, kind of like what we're going through right now. Again, you're seeing the Vikings defense look a lot more like Mike Zimmer's defense. Again, is it Blau just not being good? Or is it the Vikings defense being better? Or is it a combination of both a bit? I think it's a combination of both. And you expect more. You hope there's a little more energy going into next week. Because I think, the Vikings should have scored more than 20 points against Detroit at home. We should have. But at the same time, you don't want to go way overboard and hurt yourself and this and that. That's pretty much what former Viking Chuck Foreman was just saying in one of those post-game shows. Yeah, that's the Viking, literally called the Vikings post-game show on the Fox here. Still kind of playing in mute in the background here, but I let it go for a bit. Tyrone Carter, pretty excited guy wearing his Mafia hat there. He must like this show. Yeah, right. Probably never even. Who knows? But no, that's what we're hoping for. The Vikings train can keep moving forward, and we keep winning more games here. Again, hopefully the Vikings defense is treading in the right direction, and the Vikings offense just kind of sort of took a personal day today, and that's it. Kind of sort of did. And that there's a little more coming here, up and coming with us. The Los Angeles Chargers, the Green Bay Slackers, and Chicago Bears as we head into the final stretch here. So with that said, the Fran Tarkington Award today will not go to Kirk Cousins or to Delvin Cook. It's going to go to Danielle Hunter, who's had multiple Purple Mafia MVPs during the course of his still fairly young career, thankfully. Still very young, actually. That's how highly I feel about Danielle Hunter. Again, 12.5 sacks throughout this season. A guy who might even be a future Hall of Famer if he keeps it up. He just might. Delvin Cook is a pretty good shot at it if he stays healthy and consistent. There he is in the background. But no, Danielle Hunter is going to ring in the Fran Tarkington Award for today's show. The Christian Ponder Memorial, I'm not going to beat up on Xavier Rhodes today. It might be just a lack of energy, generally speaking. It's certainly not going to go to Laquan Treadwell, is it? I might not even give one, other than just, again, the lack of energy down the stretch. You'd like to see a little more, and that's, again, why Mike Zimmer was a little frustrated. I'm not too mad at him, though, at this team, though. C.J. Ham with another one of those targets that ended up turning into a pretty nice game. Gotta love that. C.J. Ham's got some athleticism to him and some strength and this and that. Irv Smith, not bad. Maybe it could go to the refs in the first half because, that was ridiculous. Way too many penalties. They were literally calling everything. And, again, it's not like every call was egregious and insane and ticky-tack, but it started feeling like it a little bit. It was kind of frustrating. The offensive line protected Cousins fairly well. Probably could have been a little better, but only one sack. It ain't that bad. Defensive line was great. The pressure, and again, you got to blame the rookie a little bit too for not getting rid of the ball. Shouldn't have been 5 sacks. Probably should have been 3, maybe 2 at the end of the day because of that. But nicely played, Minnesota. With that said, I'm not going to really pass out a Ponder Memorial today. We'll be back. We'll look throughout the NFL and a preview coming up with the Los Angeles Chargers. One more road game, and then we finish things off at home, back to back, baby. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2. Time to look around the NFL and preview the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers. I'd rather call them the San Diego Superchargers. But, yeah, they're the Los Angeles Superchargers, or not so charged up right now. Because, they look good today, though. We'll get to that in a second. Of course, Vikings over Detroit, 20-7. Yeah, Chicago and Dallas kickoff on Thursday Night Football. And, of course, the Chicago Bears continue their strong play. The Dallas Cowboys continue to stink. And Jason Garrett's job security is about as secure as maybe the Calgary Flames coach after stuff came out, stuff like that. Okay, it's not quite that bad because, obviously, Jason Garrett's a good guy. He's just not that good of a coach. The Cowboys went up 7-0, but after that, it was pretty much all the Bears, all Chicago, and it was in Chicago, so that does help. And Chicago Bears, luckily they'll be coming here and not, we're not going to Soldier Field because we have a pretty good idea how that would turn out, I think. Mitchell Trubisky last couple of weeks has looked awfully good, but most Bears fans are thinking, I don't know. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, yikes, that type of thing. That's kind of what it's like with Mitchell Trubisky at this stage. Dak Prescott was contained fairly well. It was kind of a typical not-so-great Dak Prescott game where he'd still get the bajillion yards. He'd attempt almost 50 freaking passes. Completions just weren't there. The plays just weren't there. It just wasn't meant to be for the Dallas Cowboys, even though they made a nice little comeback down the stretch. That's where some of the yardage came in. But, they had to, basically. They got back in the game. Prescott hit Amari Cooper. Got a 2-score game, 31-21. with about 4.5 minutes left. But then by the time Dallas was able to make their field goal, it was just too little too late. It was just kind of like a formality, make the score look a little prettier, and that was just all she wrote. Chicago Bears by far the better team. And again, well, it was a home game for Chicago, so that does help. Interesting uniforms they've been wearing. Those old school classic looking unis from back in the day with the stripes and all that. I think it's cool. I like it. I'm not somebody who's going to go against that. I think it looks cool. I love retro this. I love retro that. I think one of the ugliest retro jerseys is probably the Packers ones because it's not even it's not even the colors we're used to. They look like kind of like the Michigan Wolverines or something out there. It just kind of is what it is. Ezekiel Elliott was able to get into the end zone twice, 81 yards, so he got a little bit more going on than he had the last couple of weeks, especially the Vikings game where we completely contained the guy, made him virtually useless out there. Trubisky used his happy feet and wound up with 63 yards. Montgomery, solid, above average, but he did lose a fumble in the game. But again, the Chicago Bears definitely the better team despite giving up a lot of receiving yards to Gallup and Cooper, which is something the Vikings did a very good job of as well when we had to actually go to Dallas. So, I don't know, impressive win for the Vikings for the most part, but I don't know. The Cowboys are just kind of toast, I think. And that's just all there is to say. Let's keep going. And I jumped ahead. That was a division game again. I keep doing that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I jumped on it because it was the Thursday game, kind of the way things go. I like to get the Thursday game out of the way because it's a while ago already. Denver and Houston. What's up with the Denver Broncos, like winning games that don't matter? They actually won in Houston today. And this is after Houston frustrated the living crap out of the Patriots a week ago. Frustrated the crap out of the Patriots. And, wow. And then they can't even beat Denver. Okay. What the hell? Makes the Patriots look awfully bad, actually. Denver Broncos, 38 points in the game. Drew Lock looking like Drew Bledsoe or something. I don't know. He looks like more like Drew Brees. More like Drew Brees at the end of the day. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Well, if you're able to get through this Houston defense, which certainly made the Patriots look awful in the game. I don't know. Drew Lock might be something. I think the Broncos might have a little something there. What a solid game against a pretty good playoff type of team. Houston Texans will probably host a wild card game because Buffalo's not going to catch the New England Patriots, or well, maybe they will now. But losing today is not going to help. They were 9-3. Now they're 9-4. That killed them. To think the Buffalo Bills, if they won today, they'd be tied with New England. Wow. Pittsburgh Steelers are very unlikely to catch the Baltimore Ravens. In fact, I'd say that's done and dusted. I mean, it looks like it is. You see that X right next to their name. Yep, it's pretty much done and dusted. Nope, they clinched a playoff spot. Y is the division, so the Kansas City Chiefs will at least be hosting a playoff game no matter what now. Yep. 9-4 after their win today. That was kind of, I don't know. Let's just say I wasn't cheering for them today. But Denver Broncos, impressive win in a game that does help. Does hurt the. It certainly hurts the Houston Texans in a big way. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to imagine that, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Maybe Tennessee's going to catch him. We'll see. It's going to be extremely interesting to see how that turns out. Yeah, Tennessee might catch him now with Mr. Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's been awesome. San Francisco 49ers looking good. Obviously, we'll get back to that shortly. I'm just staring at all the records now. Indianapolis Colts, they're kaput. Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually staying alive. 6-7 record in the NFC South division. They're hanging on. They're still alive, if you can believe it. And the AFC South, Indianapolis Colts, they're pretty much about done as well. But there's still a chance. 6-7 record. Kind of an epic back and forth game at the end of the day. Jameis Winston, you can say what we want about him. He makes a lot of mistakes, but he certainly puts up numbers too. He's kind of like Culpepper on crack. That's about what he's like out there. Culpepper on crack. Puts up the numbers, but then really bad mistakes. Like Culpepper would make mistakes, but they weren't. It wouldn't be every single week all the time. He fumbled a lot because of supposedly he had small hands. But I don't know. I don't even want to get into that kind of thought process. It's weird to imagine a guy that big would have small hands, but whatever. It is what it is. Jameis Winston, though, again, very good game offensively, generally speaking. If not for the stupid turnovers, he'd be a superstar if he could control himself a little better. Definitely an epic passing aerial battle between these two teams. Tampa ends up getting it 38-35. Big numbers, though. 450 yards, 5 touchdown passes, but 5 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions at the end of the day. Jameis Winston, spectacular numbers. And the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins almost won 3 games in a row. But the Jets outlasted them 22-21. That's kind of funny. Huge second quarter for the Jets. Miami kind of hanging on, but the Jets able to finish things off. Miami Dolphins should be able to get a very, very, very nice draft pick. And for their sake, I hope it's a quarterback, because Josh Rosen's not going to work out. I don't think he's a good quarterback, but we'll see. I mean, things can always change, I guess. Fitzpatrick's making some more money. He'll be a nice, solid backup for another crappy team next year. We'll see. Maybe it'll be the Dolphins again. Maybe he'll help the Jets out if need be. But I think Sam Darnold's a legit quarterback. It's just he's just not there yet. And boy, they need some pieces. And we thought they had pieces, but they don't. 5-8 record. They'll finish with an adequate record, I suppose, at the end of the day. But we'll see what happens. Man, Miami, what a weird team. But I love their uniforms and I like their history. But 3-10 record. New York Jets. Weren't they like 1-7 at one point? Man, that's crazy. They've actually been pretty damn good lately, like 4-1, but too little, too late, as we all like to say. A day late and a dollar short, so to speak. Fitzpatrick did not have a good game, generally speaking, but certainly had happy feet in the game. 65 yards for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Okay, that's news to me. It really is. Probably the game of the week. In fact, I'd argue it is. Entertaining second half game between the Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs, but this one had to be the game of the week. I mean, you had 2 10-2 teams going at it. New Orleans Saints hosting the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it was just up and down the field, over and over and over and over. And, of course, this was during our borderline snooze fest preseason victory over the Detroit Lions today. This just kept flashing in the background like, another update. You know, they just kept updating it every commercial break or stop a play. Another touchdown for New Orleans or San Francisco. It was just up and down the field, and then we got to see a dramatic, sexy finish. Man, this was really something else. There's only 94 points scored combined between these two teams. Only 94. What an epic battle. And when the Saints got that stupid pass interference called in their favor, defensive pass interference on the 49ers, and the next thing you know, a next play or two down the field, Drew Brees was able to hit Tre'Quan Smith into the end zone for an 18-yard touchdown. Oh, you thought that, oh boy. Saints are probably going to win. Great. But then again, hey, what kind of game has it been? Up and down the field, both teams. So who knows? It was frustrating how the 49ers hadn't gotten in the end zone in the last 9 minutes or so. Just to be goofy, it's like, that's forever. 9 minutes since they got in the end zone? Jeez. Robbie Gould nailed the 41-yarder, former Chicago Bear kicker who was about as good as it gets, until he had like a bad couple of games or so and was hurt a bit. And then winds up with San Francisco, and he's been pretty good with San Francisco. I like the 49ers. Can you tell? 49ers and Patriots, you know, I mean, it's just, I like the heritage. I like the excellence. There's just something about those two teams versus the Dallases, the New Orleans, and the Pittsburghs that I can't stand. I can't stand any of those teams. There's just a different aura to those teams. Like when they win the Super Bowl or they have a good season or whatever, there's a different aura to San Francisco and New England compared to those. That's why I'm a fan. And I kind of like Baltimore that way too a little bit, but you get the idea. It's okay to have a rooting interest in a game like this. You want to see one team beat the other. It's not just the fact that, you know, the NFC Championship game, and I don't know, Drew Brees is always kind of, I don't know. I used to love him. I did. But then you see more and more about him, and it's just like, I don't know. Hell of a player, but he just annoys me for some reason. San Francisco gets down the field. Jimmy Garoppolo, it looked like they were dead. It really did. And then when he hit George Kittle, oh my God, I was just, And then you saw a penalty flag after all the scrum and all that going on. And I'm like, oh, great. Let me guess. Holding on San Francisco. And then they show the play, and it's like, wait a minute. Maybe it was a face mask. And then you look close. Oh, yeah, it was a face mask. It was a King of Kings face mask. It was the ultimate face mask. It was like a double whammy face mask. And that just never ended. You'd think that a certain player, a certain safety of the New Orleans Saints that was very much responsible for the Minneapolis Miracle. That's right. Wow, he just got roasted on another play there. That was much earlier in the game. Marcus Williams, number 43 Marcus Williams, who was the number one culprit for the Minneapolis Miracle, other than Stephon Diggs making a spectacular play and his awareness on the field and everything that had to do with that as well. His awareness, the time, everything. Just go. Don't go out of bounds. The game's over if you go out of bounds. He just keeps going, and we walk off. But then Marcus Williams, again, it was a face mask, and another 15 yards tacked on an already spectacular play. Next thing you know, San Francisco is kneeling, running the clock down to the final seconds, so Robbie Gould could nail a sure 30-yarder, and he nailed it all right down the pipe. I was absolutely thrilled with the finish. A great game, nonetheless, regardless who wins, but I was much happier with the outcome. There's so many reasons I want San Francisco to win. Number one, I like the 49ers. I like their history. I got into that already. Love the uniforms. Oh, God, do I love those uniforms. Oh. But do you really want the Seattle Seahawks to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs? Do you really want to see Seattle win again? Ugh, I can't stand Seattle. I just cannot. And I don't want the Saints to have home field advantage either, because that could have been a possibility. It could have been. I'd rather see San Francisco any day over New Orleans or Seattle. Seattle's a big one. That's why that's a team I didn't even mention, like the Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints, and Seattle, teams like that. I don't want them to win. I just can't stand them. Go 49ers and Patriots over those teams any day of the week. And, what an amazing finish. And great game-winning drive by Jimmy Garoppolo. Apparently that was his sixth game-winning drive in the fourth quarter to lead his team to victory. Well, game-winning to lead his team to victory. You get the idea. But it's sixth game-winning drive at the end of the day in his career. And he learned from the best. We can all say that. He's learned from the best. He's one of those gifted, privileged players who got to play for both San Francisco and New England. And, man, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Supposedly, the whole urban legend is that Bill Belichick traded Garoppolo to San Francisco to prevent Tom Brady from going there at the end of his career, because that's Tom Brady's ultimate dream, to play for the San Francisco 49ers. So supposedly that was part of the motive there. Interesting. We'll come back to Green Bay and Washington. Unfortunately, you probably have a pretty good idea who won that one. Shocking, right? And, of course, Minnesota and Detroit, that was the other divisional game. Cincinnati and Cleveland. Cleveland Cavalier Browns just barely staying alive. Yep, Vince Germano's club. Beating up on a crappy division opponent, 1-12 at Cincinnati. They're still looking at the number one pick in the draft, and yeah. I mean, you've got a pretty good idea which way they're going to go. They better go that direction in a quick hurry. They have no choice. And Baker Mayfield not looking like a number one overall pick either in a game that they beat an awful team. 45%, couple of interceptions. He stunk. Quarterback rating 38.9 against a Cincinnati team that's not good. Gosh, what the hell? Joe Mixon was downright spectacular, 146 yards and a touchdown. That's about as good as he's ever been. Nick Chubb was good as well. Definitely a good running day, and not a great day for the quarterbacks, as the Kareem Hunt, a debated figure, who wound up with the Cleveland Browns after all the depressing stuff that happened last year, and he wound up getting cut from the Kansas City Chiefs last year with the news that took place when the Chiefs had the best record in football, having to cut one of their star players last season. Kareem Hunt, solid game, but nothing that great at the end of the day. What a mess. Buffalo ends up losing, but they ended up losing to probably the best team in the AFC now. In fact, it's pretty much a done deal. Baltimore Ravens most likely are going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they're probably going to be the favorites to win the whole enchilada when all is said and done. Maybe you'll get a rematch of the Harbaugh Bowl, and I wouldn't be surprised. Both of them are 11-2. Whew! And Buffalo Bills, unfortunately, unable to protect home field today against the best team in the AFC. As painful as it might be to say, but, I like Baltimore just fine, and Lamar Jackson just keeps getting better and better and better. For the longest time, it's like, yeah, he's just an athlete, he's this, he's that, but then he gets the job done. He throws touchdown passes, he makes plays, he makes a mistake here and there, or if it's an interception or whatever it is, he'll fumble once in a blue moon. But at the end of the day, he's about as valuable and dynamic a player as there is in the entire game. And, man, I'll just keep saying this every week. He should have probably, he's a guy that I saw in Louisville and thought he might go number one overall in the draft. And, well, there's a reason why he was looked on as that kind of a star. There is a reason, because we're seeing it now. That's just all there is to say. 24-17 over the Buffalo Bills, who still very much very much likely will be in the playoffs, but I'll feel sick if they lose in the first round. Guess it depends on who they draw in the first round, but sucks they'll probably have to go on the road. That's lame sauce. But welcome to the NFL. Ugh, the ultimate too little too late game. Atlanta and Carolina, two teams that are kaput. Carolina Panthers have now lost their 8th game. They're completely done. Mr. Allen continuing to play well. Kyle Allen putting up numbers and all that, but he did turn the ball over 3 times in the game. That didn't help. Matt Ryan, strong performance for the most part, the 300-plus yards and quarterback rating of 110, and you can just go on forever. Good, solid game for Atlanta, 40 points, but it's just, at the end of the day, it's just a formality. Wrapping up the season with 9 losses already on the already on the docket. They'll probably finish 5-11 or 6-10, whatever it is, and Dan Quinn will be on his way out. That's just welcome to the NFL when you think about that. As we kind of try to move along here before we get back to Green Bay, Jacksonville and the Chargers, we'll leave that alone, of course. That's the very, very last one. Pittsburgh staying alive, beating a not-so-good team, a rematch of the Super Bowl about 11 years ago. Arizona Cardinals, well, unfortunately, a similar result where Pittsburgh ends up winning by 6 points, in this case, 23-17. Not quite the epic offensive battle that Super Bowl was with Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald. And man, oh man, that was a good team. Santonio Holmes. And, of course, Big Ben. Interesting situation here. Delvin Hodges. Not a bad game. Not a bad game. His stats were good. He attempted only 19 passes, but completed 16 of them. Was solid. He basically did enough out there, as there was a lot of running by Pittsburgh, kind of running back by committee. Benny Snell Jr., Kerrith White Jr., Delvin Rodgers also, again, adding the running, the physical, showing some athleticism here and there. Kyler Murray, well, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, that Pittsburgh defense is stepping up a bit. They look a lot better than they did the last couple of years. The second half of the season, Pittsburgh Penguins, I gotta know why I'm calling them all these silly names, the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, I'm not a fan of that team, but I'm telling you, they're doing a hell of a job considering where they were earlier this season when they looked like they were going to be in the top 5 in the draft. I mean, they look like a top 5 team in the draft, one of the worst teams in football. And they're probably going to make the playoffs with they're 8-5 at this stage. Good chance they may be 10-6, something like that. That's impressive. That's a really damn good job by just an amazing job by Mike Tomlin. Just an amazing job. What an amazing job by him, of course, former Vikings defensive coordinator. Man, I wish he was a hell of a coach for us for only 1 year. Under Childress, it's like, of course, you know, the only positive of that whole coaching staff that year, so much frustration otherwise by the 2006 Vikings. Tomlin just on his way out just like that. And, of course, Chester Taylor was freaking awesome that year, too, for the Vikings. Oh, was he good. Then, of course, replaced by Frazier. But, you know, Mike Tomlin, obviously, he's been there probably too long. I wouldn't have been surprised. I thought he was going to get let go at the end of the season because I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to finish horribly. And, heck, losing to Cleveland. But ever since then, they've been damn awesome. They've been downright awesome. And even before that, they were pretty good. It looked like, boy, Cleveland's going to win the division. Baltimore's going to be kind of, a fringe team, 8-8, 9-7. And, Pittsburgh's done. They're out. I couldn't have been possibly more wrong about all of that. I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed sitting here in this chair thinking about that right now. I mean, just look at Baltimore. And Pittsburgh is not out. They're in. And Cleveland stinks, and Cincinnati, well, none of us thought Cincinnati was going to do anything, but I didn't think they'd be like 1-15, which is probably where they're heading. They're the new Cleveland Browns right now. But solid win by Pittsburgh. It's not the toughest thing ever, but hey, you have to go on the road sometimes against these not-so-good teams, and things don't always go your way in games like this. Tell that to the frickin' New England Patriots. And then we get to wrap it with Tennessee and Oakland. Tennessee pretty much knocking Oakland out. Kansas City Chiefs getting some revenge in what the Patriots did to them last year, sort of, but obviously not nearly as important of a game, but still very crucial. Should these teams end up with the same record, Kansas City's got the tiebreaker. So, I don't know, New England's right now, unfortunately for them, they're going to have a tough time getting home field over Baltimore anytime soon now, and I don't know, they're not the same team, are they? New England Patriots, they would have the bye at the moment, because the third seed is Kansas City. So with 4 losses, I don't know what's going on with the New England Patriots. The offense has not been the same. They're just not clicking at all. I don't want to say Brady's lost it, because how can you say Brady's lost it? But I don't know. This time of year, I just don't understand it. I'm kind of shocked right now when I sit here thinking about that in Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, blah, 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 blah. I'm just finding this crazy, seeing them lose back-to-back weeks. Now, I mean, losing in Houston, you think that's a hiccup. You saw Tom Brady's frustration telling guys to pick it up, and we need to bleep and do, bleep and focus, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of like paraphrasing, but he was telling guys they need to pick it up, and guys were just not, I don't know. They're just out of sync right now. That offense for New England is completely out of sync. They're just not the same. The Kansas City Chiefs defense isn't that great. It's the classic bend but don't break. But they looked awfully good today. They look like the Baltimore Ravens of 2000 today against the Patriots. They might as well have been, because the Patriots couldn't do jack against them today for the most part until much later in the game. Now, of course, the Patriots scored very early, and you figured, okay, here comes New England, and then right after that, it was all Kansas City. I mean, it looked like a blowout. Things got a bit better. They had major opportunities with the blocked punt in the New England Patriots, a golden opportunity down the stretch, but they just could not capitalize. Patriots end up cutting Kai Forbath right away after the missed field goal, and now Nick Folk is their kicker. Oh boy, that's goofy situation for the Patriots right now. Mahomes has not been that spectacular so far. I mean, again, you're going against one of the best defenses in football, so to score 23 points isn't that bad. But it's definitely all about the Chiefs getting the job done in the New England defense at the end of the day. Frustrating Mahomes enough to keep the Patriots within striking distance, but it still just wasn't enough for the Patriots. It just wasn't enough. It just wasn't. 23-16, Patriots dropped to 10-3 now. Back-to-back losses for the Patriotas. Frustrating for them after losing to Houston. That was a frustrating game. You could see the major anger and frustration in Tom Brady's face last week. This week, not as much anger, but I'm sure the frustration. You saw him hanging his head like he does in games like that. Tennessee Titans. Wow, what a great game by A.J. Brown, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Huge game for him, 5 catches in the game. Ryan Tannehill has been downright awesome since taking over the reins of the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he's their quarterback, period. I mean, if I'm the Tennessee Titans general manager, or if I'm a fan, blah, 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 I mean, I want Ryan Tannehill as my quarterback right now because he's doing an awesome job. He's doing better with Tennessee than he ever did with Miami for the most part, even though he had some good years with Miami. Derek Carr, a decent game. Certainly better than he's been the past few weeks, but just not even close to enough. They got doubled up today, 42-21. In their own house, and off to Vegas they go pretty much. The Ring Central Coliseum. Oakland Raiders just not up to the task today. Not at all. 42-21. That pretty much puts them on ice, I gotta say. I would have to say their chances of making the postseason are done and dusted at this point. Great game by the Tennessee Titans. Technically, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. Isn't that crazy? You have 8-5 record, tied with Pittsburgh, so they got to get past Pittsburgh to get in. As good as Tennessee's look, it's a crying shame because they had some crappy losses earlier in the season. Crying shame because Tannehill is just downright efficient. 140 quarterback rating. He's just awesome. Completing deep passes, and then the running game is real good with Derrick Henry. I like this Tennessee team. I really do. Since the Ryan Tannehill era of the Tennessee Titans has been definitely an entertaining brand of football. They're good stuff. Sometimes a quarterback gets to go in a different organization, and better things happen. That's just how it is sometimes. And good job, Ryan Tannehill. Well done. And I hope they knock Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. We'll see what happens. So let's come back to another team I wish would get knocked out of the playoffs. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen right now. They hosted the Washington Redskins, and it wasn't a good game at all. 20-15, and Washington had their chances, and there was a couple of nice plays by Haskins, Dwayne Haskins. Nice completion for his one touchdown. It was a good zip on the ball, but generally speaking, just Packers are a little better, obviously. Rodgers is clearly just every week you see him, he'll get those big completions that he needs, but he's just, clearly he's not
as explosive as he once was. You're not seeing the huge plays that you once saw. But fortunately for Green Bay, their defense is still pretty good, obviously. It's good now, finally, after 10 freaking years of sucking and giving up thousands of yards every week. Adrian Peterson, the old Packer nemesis, 76 yards on the ground. He continues to climb the charts as he's heading towards the top of the top 5 all time, trying to catch one of the greats of all time in Curtis Martin, the former Patriot and Jet. Curtis Martin, that's what he's trying to catch, trying to move up there, and man alive, he's getting there. 76 yards and a touchdown. People are just amazed that he's still able to keep up with what he's been able to do all these years. If all goes well, Adrian Peterson will literally run into 5th all-time next week. If all goes well for him, he had 76 yards today. That puts him in over 14,000. He had 13,960. Unless this is already updated, but I don't think it is. Usually it wouldn't be, but 13,960. One way or another, in the next couple of weeks, very good chance Adrian Peterson will be 5th all time with daylight behind him, because everybody behind him, LaShawn McCoy is the next active player at 22nd at 11,000 yards. So doesn't have to worry about anybody catching him at this stage. These are all old retired players. Curtis Martin, obviously, hasn't played in many years. LaDainian Tomlinson is done. Jerome Bettis, Dickerson, Dorsett. I can't believe he passed Dickerson and Dorsett. I mean, I remember thinking he's going to catch Dorsett, but he probably won't catch Dickerson. And then he did catch Dickerson. And he just continues to roll and roll and roll. Does Adrian Peterson. What a nice run. And we can all say what we want about him, but still, to move up to 5th all time would be quite impressive. But another guy who's been insanely impressive, Frank Bleepin' Gore, is now 3rd all time. I can't even believe that. That's a first ballot Hall of Famer right there. And, like Frank Gore, you never talked about him like he was the superstar. But, well, apparently he is, because, I mean, my God. Well, he's been in the league 2 years longer than Adrian Peterson even, and 15,300, as he just recently passed Barry frickin' Sanders. He's top 3. I never thought anybody was going to catch those guys, and Frank Gore caught Barry Sanders. I can't believe that. That's unbelievable what Frank Gore has been able to accomplish. I can't even believe that. But, and a not-so-great win for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they won the game, but clearly they're just a mediocre overall game for them. I mean, a win's a win, just like the mediocre wins we had against Denver and Washington earlier this season, games that we probably didn't even deserve to have, particularly the Denver one. We basically coughed that one up, but it was a miracle that we came back, because Denver just stinks. And Washington, that was the most boring game I've ever seen. It was kind of like today's game, but worse. Kind of worse than today's game, because you thought the Vikings were going to win the whole time. The Washington game, there was a small chance that maybe the Washington was going to catch us, even though, once Keenum went out, that was kind of all she wrote. Frank Gore, I just cannot believe that guy. I can't believe it. 3rd all time. I can't even believe he passed. I just can't believe that. He passed Barry Sanders, but now, only 4 rushes today. They were behind, unfortunately for him. But still, what an amazing career. It's funny, too, because he's had such small numbers the last few weeks, but he just kind of inched past Barry Sanders very slightly. And I'm guessing this is probably it. This is probably his last season. He's so ancient now. I mean, he's like 35 years old. And, he's not getting the majority of carries for Buffalo anymore. Just here and there. It's funny how they let go of LaShawn McCoy but kept Frank Gore. It is kind of funny when you think about that. McCoy's aging, and he's the next active guy behind Adrian Peterson. But shoot, it is kind of crazy. It is interesting to think that there is nobody who's climbing the charts for quite a while. Wow, you're going way down. Mark Ingram of the Saints is 66th all time. And, I don't know. He's been in the league 8 years already. I don't know. So, Alfred Morris, Le'Veon Bell, Lamar Miller. Yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm not too confident in any of these guys catching them. Todd Gurley's 126th, and he gets hurt a lot. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, we'll see. It's going to be a long way to go. Cam Newton. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot going on for running backs catching anybody anytime soon. So enjoy them while they're here. As much as people might not like Adrian Peterson, enjoy them while they're here. That's just all I got to say about that. Let's move on to the San Diego Superchargers, or the Los Angeles Chargers, a 45-10 thromping of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chargers kind of attempting to hang on for dear life. They're technically not out of it yet, if you can believe it, which might make it next week a very difficult game. Hopefully they don't play this well. Jacksonville's awful, and yeah, I mean, there's just not much to say. It's a mess. They're 4-9. They couldn't protect their home field worth crap today. Phillip Rivers just shredded this team like you wouldn't believe. I didn't think the Vikings ever actually beat the Los Angeles Chargers with Phillip Rivers / San Diego Chargers, but we have beaten them with Phillip Rivers, believe it or not. 6-6 all time. These two teams first started playing in 1971, and we've only played 12 times. Last time the Minnesota Vikings won in San Diego / LA, so basically beat the Chargers on the road, was 1981. Oh boy, October 11th, 1981. So we're talking 39 years ago, 39 years and change ago. Minnesota Vikings hoping to make a little history and beat the San Diego Superchargers. Okay, I keep calling them San Diego, but it's Los Angeles. Every game we've played them in our tenure, they were the San Diego Chargers. They were the LA Chargers way, way back in the day, in the 60s and before. And they moved to San Diego, and now they're back in LA. But it's, I don't know. It's a weird mix. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're literally 6-6, and every single time these two teams have played, it has gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So hopefully the Vikings can change history that way because, yeah. Well, let's just say in 71, the Vikings lost. In 75, Vikings won. 78, Vikings lost. 81, Vikings won. That was the last time we ever won on the road. Vikings have hosted a lot more. Vikings have hosted this series many more times. The Vikings are 1-3 in on the road versus the Chargers, one way or another. If it's San Diego or Los Angeles, 1-3 historically all time. And again, 81 was the one win, but it's just gone back and forth. 84, Vikings got killed. My goodness, and because that was a terrible team. 85 Vikings with Bud Grant coming back. They beat the Chargers. The Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings and Chargers didn't play for 8 freaking years. And yeah, Chargers just rolled all over that team. That was Natron Means and Stan Humphries. That was a pretty good Chargers team. They went 11-5 after starting out the year 0-4, if not 0-5. I think they started out the year 0-5, and then they went on and won all the rest of the games. And they got a first round bye and lost right away. That was depressing, to say the least. Stan Humphries and all them. They went to the Super Bowl in '94 and haven't been back, of course. But again, back and forth. 99, Vikings beat the Chargers. I barely remember that game, but that must have been, that was during that influential run by a guy by the name of Jeff George. When the Vikings almost ran the table. 2003, Chargers crushed the Vikings pretty bad, 42-28. 2007, 4 years later, Vikings beat the Chargers 35-17. Impressive. 2011, Vikings were winning that whole freaking game. The whole game. I remember that was Donovan McNabb. That was the season opener with Donovan McNabb. The Vikings were steadily hanging on and winning that whole game, and they blew it. They just let that thing go. Phil Rivers led the team back, and they beat the Vikings 24-17. And then in 2015, an impressive, solid win for the Vikings, 31-14 over the San Diego Superchargers. And it would be the last time we would call them San Diego against Minnesota. So coming up, what do you say here? I don't know. This team is all over the place. They've had impressive wins, and they've stunk. I don't know what to say. Impressive win here. Numbers all over the place. They have talented players everywhere. Keenan Allen, he's had his moments. He's been mediocre. Austin Eckler, 112 yards today. Got in the end zone. I don't know what to make of this Chargers team. They've been all over the place all season. I'm having a tough time with this one. It's a tough place to play one way or another, or it's just a tough team to play against on the road anyway. I don't even know where the heck they play anymore. It's just such a joke, that old soccer stadium, basically. And as expected, the San Diego Chargers, I keep calling them San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers overall defense is good. They don't give up a ton of yards. They're actually 4th in the NFL in yards given up at 309. So that kind of is what that is. The Jets actually give up the least rushing yards, which is funny. But remember, Dalvin Cook had a pretty good game against them much earlier in the season. The Chargers give up 109 yards, 110 yards a game, basically. And again, this is not including this week's game, so it is what it is. 110 yards given up per game by the LA Chargers. They are way down. They're like in the lower half. They're not that far down, but 110 yards, so you can kind of guess as long as a certain guy is still falling the correct way, things will be okay. They only give up 200 passing yards a game, though, so that's really low. They forced interceptions. They have 9 on the season, which isn't that great. It's kind of in the middle, kind of a conservative defense. Not so much in the pick six category. In fact, they have 0 on the season, no pick sixes, so that's okay with me. Forced fumbles, they are way at the bottom as well, with not many at all at the end of the day. They have only 5. They're actually bottom in the league in forced fumbles, so that's good. That bodes well. They don't force a whole lot of turnovers. They just don't give up a whole lot of passing yards at the end of the day. And again, it's like go figure. It's kind of a back and forth situation. Expect Dalvin Cook. Expect the Vikings to establish the run. And finally, Sunday Night Football is flashing in the background. Started a little bit earlier tonight for multiple reasons. My wife going to bed real early. In fact, that's why I'm trying to keep my voice down a little bit. And Minnesota Timberwolves playing the LA Lakers. That's kind of fun stuff. With the way LeBron James is playing this year, Vince Germano, if he's listening, Cleveland Browns fan out of Melbourne, Australia, and of course, LA Lakers fan. With the way LeBron James is playing this year, you don't want to miss that. It is some fun stuff. So much better than the junk we had to watch the last 5 years or so. Loving those. Oh, I love it. The LA Rams are wearing their classic uniforms again. Love it, love it, love it. Hosting the Seattle Sea Chickens. Go Rams. Go Rams big time here. Even as weird as that might sound, because you want the Rams to lose so the Vikings are in the playoffs, but I don't want Seattle having home field. I don't want Seattle having home field. I'm confident enough in the Minnesota Vikings that they can win, that they can get to their first, they can get into the postseason one way or another. Maybe we'll win the division still if we go undefeated, because we'll have beaten the Packers the rest of the way. We got to beat the freaking Chargers first, though. I love those Rams unis. Oh, boy. I want to pick a Vikings win. It's just the Chargers are weird, man. It's a weird game. They've been kind of up and down all season. With the way they've played this year, you got to think the Vikings should be able to beat this team. They are just a challenge of a team. 5-8. They're still hanging on. Phillip Rivers he's missed the playoffs a bajillion times in his career. They're 7th in the league in passing yards. The rushing yards are very low, only 89 a game. Wow. And their offense is considered right in the middle pretty much throughout the season. It has been a mess of a year. They beat Indianapolis early, and then they lost to teams like Detroit, beat by Houston. They're kind of a streaky team, aren't they? It's like one win or 2 wins and 3 losses kind of most of the year. They've had 2 3-game losing streaks. They pounded the Chargers today after losing to Denver, and of course losing to Kansas City and Oakland. Not too surprising in either one of those. At the end of the day, they beat the Packers and the Bears. Ooh. They beat the Packers and the Bears, but they lost to Detroit. Okay, so let's even things out and beat them. Beat the Chargers, as Detroit beat the Chargers much earlier in the year, back when it looked like Mr. Matt Patricia might keep his job as a head coach. I don't think his chances of doing that are very high right now. Wow. Man. He's had some huge weeks. Austin Eckler's had some huge weeks, 213 yards. Man. Huge week. Huge week this week. 213-yard game overall. Overall numbers, Austin Eckler. So watch out for him, of course. I don't expect him to put up numbers like that. If the Vikings defense shows up to play, I think we'll be fine. If it's a vanilla defense, I think the Vikings' chances of winning the game are slim to none. Phillip Rivers he's not the same guy. He's thrown 15 interceptions this year. He's fumbled 6 times but only lost twice, for a grand total of 17 turnovers on the year, which is a big number. Melvin Gordon has been just a slightly above average running back, generally speaking. Melvin Gordon III. Austin Eckler, his numbers weren't that good until today. He just had that huge day today, that's for sure. And Keenan Allen's had big numbers for many years. Mike Williams, Austin Eckler putting up the numbers with receiving, but then had some good running numbers throughout as well. He's been kind of a back and forth, kind of a hybrid player for the San Diego, I keep calling him San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, really picking up the receiving yards throughout. He's much more of a receiving back than anything else. He is a heck of a weapon. He really is. He's a running back, but he gets more receiving yards than he gets on the ground. He's definitely an overall total yardage guy, is Austin Eckler. And to think he was undrafted. He was undrafted out of Western State, who not many people have heard of Western State, I'm sure. But definitely quite the athlete is Austin Eckler. So he's definitely somebody to worry about. The Vikings linebackers better be ready for this guy, because you can expect some screen plays that could frustrate the crap out of us for those key third downs, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 5, plays like that end up burying you and costing you the game. Nice completion by Jared Goff there. Go Rams, yes. Anybody but Seattle, pretty much. I hate Seattle. Good completion there. Good job. Boy, I'm kind of going back and forth on this one. I'm scared to death. This is probably the scariest game remaining, even though obviously Chicago and Green Bay are dangerous. But you're at home, and the Vikings generally protect home field against our division teams. We almost always beat Green Bay at home, almost always. In fact, they've never beaten us so far in U.S. Bank Stadium. But Rodgers has been hurt a couple times, and they had some awful seasons. But Rodgers is not the same guy. I think the Vikings are going to win both of those 2 games. If the Vikings can beat the bleeping Chargers 12-4, here we come. We still might wind up with a 6th seed, but at least you're 12-4 and moving forward with a good month of December. You have an undefeated month of December, you're going to feel damn good at the end of the day. Damn good. Actually, it wouldn't be undefeated because the freaking Seahawks won right at the beginning. But, well, undefeated in the last 4 games anyway. Very busy month of December, to say the least, with that situation. Oh, my. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game. I think we're going to end that 38-year drought on the road versus the Chargers. We'll just call them the Chargers because it's not in San Diego, obviously. It's in a weird place. They've not been the same since moving there, even though they did have a very good season last year after a horrible start. But ever since then, it has been quite a drop-off. Vikings need to take care of business and beat this team. They've had impressive victories over the Bears and the Packers. Hopefully the Vikings can take care of business. You lose this game, well, maybe the LA Rams will catch us. And I hope not, but the possibility exists at that point, despite what happens. It's going to go down to the wire if the Vikings lose this game. But I think one way or another, I think this game is going to go down to the wire. But I do expect Dalvin Cook to have a very big game. This team does give up 110 yards on the ground. It's not spectacular numbers, but they're numbers. 110, the best rush defenses give up like 75 yards a game, not 110. So you're going to see Dalvin Cook. You're going to see Madison out there as well. Alexander Madison out there as well, getting his 50 yards or so, and some of those screen plays as well. I do expect Dalvin Cook to reach the century mark in this game, and I do expect him to get his 14th, if not 15th touchdown of the season in this game. Pray to God people stay healthy, protect the ball. Luckily, this team does not get a ton of turnovers, so I think that does help our chances big time. If this team was a turnover machine defensively, Vikings might be in big trouble, but that's probably why the Chargers aren't that good. They're only 4-8, or 5-8 now, pardon me. So that's the thing. If this is a turnover machine, kind of like they were last year, they were just a better overall team. Still a very good defense, so they were a great defense a year ago, and Phillip Rivers is a little more on his game. I do expect the Vikings defense to play sound and to force some turnovers on Phillip Rivers, and I expect the Vikings to win the game. Something along the likes of 27-24. Could go down to the wire, but I think the Vikings pull this off, 27-24. It's not a nooner. In fact, the very last game of the season is finally a nooner again versus the Bears. Otherwise, you got to go. We're in the second half, the 3:05 group, and then next week after that is Monday Night Football again against the Green Bay Packers. This was actually a Sunday night game, but we got flexed backwards into the second half, which is fine by me. At least I can get the show done on Sunday evening. One way or another, though, at least the lawn service is over. I would be able to record on Monday morning again if that was the case. But I think the Vikings somehow, some way, get past this team. It's going to be a tough game. Hopefully guys can stay healthy. But it's going to be back and forth. But I do believe Minnesota does pull this one out 27-24. And a pretty scary game. But you come out with a 10-4 record and a very good chance of finishing 12-4 on the season. With that said, we'll be back for some fan interaction. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 3, fan interaction. at Purple Mafia Show. At Purple Mafia Show is the Twitter account. We'll open with that. It's going to be a little quiet today. A little quiet because what Mad Martin says here pretty much sums it all up. In fact, and here we go. We got Brent Jacobson opening things up with a picture of him in the security there in U.S. Bank Stadium. Yes, sir. He works security for Viking games. He does a great job. Brent Jacobson, the legend, the Hall of Famer for Purple Mafia, says greetings to Purple Mafia Show from inside U.S. Bank Stadium. Let's get the win today versus Detroit, and here's hoping for a Redskins victory at Lambeau today. Skol. Redskins almost did get it, too, but they just stank. That's too bad. Now I'm kind of hoping the Rams beat Seattle, because Seattle gets home field advantage. They're going to the Super Bowl. I don't want that. I don't want Seattle in the Super Bowl. I don't. I'd much rather see San Francisco than Seattle. I'd much rather see the Vikings, and I think the Vikings could win in San Francisco, by the way. Vikings going to Seattle for the NFC title game or something like that, second round, whatever. I don't like our chances. I'd rather play San Francisco and hope for the best. We might be able to beat that team. We might be able to be the team that upsets San Francisco. Should that come to it? Should things come to that? Well, we'll see. Saints look ever upsettable at this point. But, an epic battle between San Francisco and New Orleans. And San Francisco clearly the better team because they did it on the road in epic fashion. That was pretty exciting. Mad Martin, now again, Brent Jacobson's out of the Lakeville area, kind of southeast of here from my Golden Valley apartment here. And Mad Martin from Northern Scotland says, it was like let them back in cousins instead of comeback cousins. Yep, I see what he means when he says instead of comeback cousins. I threw that in. Hard to get into this game today. Don't see the Lions as a challenge. It was very hard to get into it today, as you can tell. I found a way, though, to give you a decent game review. At least I hope so. I tried to find a way to do that. I ended up talking more this week than I had in other weeks, which is surprising. But because a lot of notable things did pop up, and, well, not playing Xavier Rhodes as much might give you chances against the Los Angeles Chargers as well coming forward. So we'll see what happens. Cool. Agree with you there, though. I didn't see them as much of a challenge. At Purple Mafia Show is the Twitter account. Do give that a follow. We are now going to Facebook, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show, and I will shout out to MN Vikings Haven as well. Trevor Wickerman, the founder of that page, who's kind enough to allow me to post links to Purple Mafia Show on that page. So I'm more than kind to give him a shout out and recommend you to join that page, as a lot of you have in the past. That's good. Very cool. In-game threads and other Viking news. Do keep up with the Purple Mafia Show page here as well, conversating about in-week news and, of course, in-game threads and post-game threads. Shannon Mayer Henry, and there she is. She says, Skull Vikings. Sharon, I just said Shannon. I deeply apologize. Sharon Mayer Henry says, Skull Vikings. Welcome aboard, Sharon. Welcome aboard. Cool. Leland Albertson, this is in the in-game thread, out of Iowa, says, division game, hard-hitting so far, dropping like flies. Yep, all those injuries. There's thankfully no purple and gold ones. Yep, just Xavier Rhodes a bit with the ankle, but we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully he'll be okay. That's not always good. Brett McCarthy was saying nice defense, but we are playing the Lions. Brett McCarthy, now I'm going crazy with the San Diego, South Dakota, SD, San Diego. Thinking about the Superchargers. Celestar Thomas was very active today, originally out of South Carolina, lives in Hawaii. Cool. Brett McCarthy says, Brett McCarthy, you can only play who's on your schedule. And yep, there's like, I know, but the history of the Vikings make a rookie quarterback look like a superstar. I'm always afraid of that, but luckily the Vikings did not do that. Luckily they did not, but kind of a weak back and forth game, I thought. Brett McCarthy says, happy holidays, Skol, everyone. And I say again, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa to all of you out there as well. Happy holidays is like a generalized thing, so I'll just say the real holidays. I guess it's either way, it's fine though. I'm not mad at you for saying that, because I know that's basically what it is. You're just, putting them all in one. I get it. Brett McCarthy says, nice move by Madison. Yep. Oh, I love that guy. How can you not love Madison? Alexander Madison, he's a great player. He really is. I love him. Sebastian Barton, there he is, out of Mankato, says, the offense came out conservative. Didn't like that. Trying to be too cute. 2nd and 1, and we try to screen. Very dumb. The penalties have been mind-numbing. I agree with that. Praying we don't see Sloter. Yeah, that's right, because Kyle Sloter is the Detroit's... is he the 3rd or 4th string quarterback? I mean, I guess 3rd now, but he's like 4th string technically when you put it all together because of the Stafford injury, when you consider Stafford's number 1. because, well, Blow was kind of like number 3, kind of, because Driscoll was basically supposed to be the backup, but Blow has been better so far, except not today. Silastar Thomas says, can we stop playing 20 yards off, guys, and give up easy first downs? Amen. Amen, brother. That's really annoying. That's really annoying. Great comments by both of you guys there, Sebastian and Silastar Thomas. Brad Jake, out of the security there, says, I would have loved to get the shutout, but all in all, what matters most is we move on to 9-4. And damn right there. Kurt Back, out of White Bear Lake. I knew there was a lake in there somewhere, right? He says, we should be clobbering these guys. And yeah, I know. Why is Boone in there? It says Brett McCarthy, run 4 and 2. The run on 4th and 2, and the Vikings did not get that one. Nope. Patriots sure struggled on 4th down today, too. Hunter having a good day, 3 sacks already. Brett McCarthy, yep. Still a start. Thomas says need to step on their throat and win with another touchdown after the half. Yep, boy, I wish. Mark Carlson says listening when I can. Car shopping with the wife today. Sad face. Yep, that does take up a lot of your time, but that's how it goes. If it's the right day to do it. I'm surprised you can car shop on a Sunday, though. I thought it'd usually be Saturday, but maybe they're open now. Brett McCarthy says, Mark Carlson, I feel sorry for you. LOL, I did it yesterday. Mark Carlson says, yeah, man, the wife's car was totaled on Thanksgiving evening. Ooh, I hope you found what you're looking for. This isn't where I want to be on Sunday. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry, man. That sucks. Good thing she's okay. At least I hope she is, right? So let me know. I hope she's okay. It sounds like it. Ooh, that sucks. That sucks. That's no fun. But sometimes it's like sometimes even something you think it's like it's damaged, but it doesn't look like it's totaled. Like totaled, nah. And then it is because like the frame was damaged. It's like, oh crap. And maybe the car's a little bit older. It's a good car, but it's a little on the older side, so the value is lower. And yeah, that's where the whole totaling comes in, where the damage repair would cost more than the value of the car, so it's totaled. So hopefully it was something like that, nothing really scary. Brett McCarthy responds, says, Christmas shopping, I got a choice Saturday or Sunday. I chose Saturday and went out to eat. Yep, during shopping, kind of a date day. That's good. And now I get to watch football. Good plan, Brett. Good plan indeed there. Yep, he loved Ham there. That would be Ham on Rye, old Ham on Rye himself, C.J. Ham, one of the better fullbacks we've ever had. I'd have to love him. That was cool. 25-yard screen there. 1-2 punch of Cook and Madison. Yeah, Brett McCarthy, awesome. Brett McCarthy, very active, carrying the show here in some ways. Silastar Thomas was very active earlier as well. What an awesome job. Thank you, Brett McCarthy, for hanging in there today. You're the best. Really cool. Really cool. Brett McCarthy, Silastar Thomas, Mark Carlson, getting things going. Hope you were able to get the car you wanted today, Mark. Let me know how things turned out. Maybe if you could mention on the page or Facebook chat, whatever, Facebook direct message, whatever the heck. It'd be cool. So that was the in-game thread. We will now move to the post-game thread. I should check also and see if there's a, what do they call those? Visitor posts to the page. It's always good to check. I feel horrible when I miss those because people take the time to post on the page and I don't even get to it. That's rude of me. Mark Carlson did on the 25th. I wonder if I read that one. I don't think I did. I'm going to read it. It was on the 25th, but I'll read it anyway. It's saying Monday morning, and I have the NFL channel on showing Packers 49ers highlights. Green Bay was destroyed by that hungry defense. Wow, I thought a Hot Pocket was some kind of a sandwich. It was a Hot Pocket, all right, wasn't it, for Mr. Rogers? Mr. Rogers. Okay, yeah, we all know. Post-game thread, but no, thank you. I'm being silly. Silastar Thomas says Breeze just took his team down the field when he absolutely had to. That's what makes some quarterbacks good and great. Yep, at the end of the day. And luckily Garoppolo. Yeah, Garoppolo. There we go. Silastar Thomas says, wow, spoke too soon. Looks like the Saints will lose. And Brett McCarthy says they did. Yep, and, well, Garoppolo took his team down the field, and George Kittle made a great play. And Marcus Williams kind of choked again. He got beat on an embarrassing play, too. Big-time play down the field to number 17 of San Francisco there. Marcus Williams fell down. Poor guy. I mean, I feel for him. I can only imagine how that guy's probably got a lot of stuff in his head ever since the Minneapolis Miracle. Was looked on to be a pretty good safety in the NFL, and he got torched today by Garoppolo and the Niners. Torched. And, of course, George Kittle made him not look too good. if you're going to tackle a guy, tackle him. Why are you yanking and pulling on? Why are you doing that? Why are you yanking and pulling on his face mask? It just doesn't make any sense. So stupid. The grill, of course, of the helmet. I didn't understand it. Tony Coleman, South Dakota, the legend, says, I wish we had seen a shutout, but I'm certainly not complaining. This is a game the Vikes should have won, so I'm glad they did. Fewer penalties leads to better scoring and better defense. Good job to the purple on that. And yeah, fewer penalties in the second half anyway. The first half got silly, didn't it? Love the Santa Claus hat there, Tony Coleman, out of South Dakota. A couple of South Dakota legends there, Tony Coleman and Brett McCarthy. Brett McCarthy says, all right game, did what they had to win. And yes, I see it that way too, an all right game. Leland out of Iowa, he's also a legend. Yep, putting up some numbers here. Love it when he does that. The offense put up 354 yards on 22 first downs. And 22 first downs, passed for 242 yards, and rushed for another 121. Yeah, that is good. Solid all-around performance in a division battle. We travel this week to the West Coast, then end the year for the last 2 games at home. We need a Packers loss, but unfortunately the Packers have the Bears. Yep. Yep, us and then the Lions. Yep, the Bears, us, and the Lions. Oof, yeah, all division. And they are 3-0 in the division for the tiebreaker. Sings, all I want for Christmas is a home playoff game. Me too. All I want for Christmas is a home playoff game. It's a Vikings home playoff game. I hope they can get it too. I hope they can too. Tanae Brown out of New Zealand. All right. 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Nice to see the defense making plays again. God, yes, amen. I know it's a lowly Lions team they were playing, but that's a real confidence booster moving forward. Cousins and the offense did what they needed. Exactly. Let's build some momentum over the next few weeks, and hopefully we can make some noise in the playoffs. Skol, brothers and sisters of Purple Mafia. Thank you, Tanae, out of New Zealand. We continue to Sebastian Barton, again out of Mankato, says, as my grandpa used to say, a win is a win. No one cares how you win. In the off season, they just want the CWs. Yep, just like the Patriots. Nobody's complaining about that it was a very unentertaining game. In fact, it was the lowest rated Purple Mafia Super Bowl probably ever, because it was a very boring game. But Patriots still got the ring. They still won a championship. They scored when they had to. They finally put together a scoring drive, and that ended up being the dagger for the Los Angeles Rams. Now we get to play the Los Angeles Chargers next week, and I do have the Vikings winning 27-24. The stars of this week, oh my. Well, I got to give it to 2 people for the gold this week. 2 people. They're going to go to Silastar Thomas and Brett McCarthy. You guys, just an awesome job there in the in-game threads, keeping things rolling. Thank you so much. Loved what you did there. Silver Star, going to go to Tanae and Leland in the post-game. Thank you guys so much for what you had to say there. Tanae and Leland getting the Silver Star at the end of the day. Bronze Stars are going to go to Brent Jacobson. Brent Jacobson and Tony Coleman, and I got to give another one to Sebastian with some cool posts as well. And again, just telling it like it is. Very cool, very cool. Thanks again, guys, for being a part of things. And again, Mark Carlson, hope everything's okay with your wife there with the car, and hope you were able to get a new one, and new used, whatever choice you go with, and hopefully you're happy with what you're able to bring home, and that it ends up being a better car than the one you had at the end of the day, hopefully. Hopefully the Vikings can keep this momentum rolling. It sucks that we lost to Seattle. Just imagine if the Vikings beat Seattle. We might be 13-3. 13-3. It's a possibility. 12-4, even if you lose to the Chargers or whatever. Hopefully you don't lose to the Chargers or the Packers. Pray to God you don't lose to the Bears either. I think the Vikings can beat the Bears, but that's not going to be that easy of a game. It's not. The Bears are not easy very often. Whenever their defense is good, they're really difficult to play against. They really are. I mean, there's just an aura to that Bears team. When the defense is good in Chicago, they are one of the toughest teams to beat, particularly for the Vikings. Green Bay is all about the offense in the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers era the last 30 years now. We talked about 20 years. It's pretty much 30 now because 92 is a long time ago. There's something special about that 91-92 Christmas. I don't know what it is. I just loved it. Even 92-93 was really memorable, but 91-92, I just keep coming back to that one for some reason. It was just special time. And even, and that year was not a very good year for me. In fact, I was one of the least popular kids in my class that year for some reason. The next year was way better, way more popular for some reason. I don't know. People were just nicer, I guess. They kind of got their heads out of you-know-where and were friendlier. That's kind of what it was. Sometimes you move up a little bit from elementary to the middle school and you got your head way up your ass so high because for whatever reason, you just got this ego now, which I don't know why you'd have an ego for that. Same with high school. But people change, they get better, sometimes they get worse, and then they kind of wake up and realize, yeah, I don't need to be like that. And that's what took place then. But for some reason, that was a memorable Christmas. And of course, there's Christmases of the 80s I'll never forget. God, especially like way back, 84, 85. For some reason, that one is probably the most special of all. It's so long ago, though. I got my first little clock, and we had those sweet things on the tree that used to bubble, like they'd heat up and bubble. And that year was the greatest ever, but I think the 91, 92 was like second, third, somewhere around there. And I look at the tree right now next to me. This one doesn't have LED lights, and if they are LED, they're the most hidden LED lights I've ever seen. I don't like LED Christmas lights. I like the standard halogen or whatever you call it. They give out an aura. There's a charm to these that'll never be matched because they actually light up the room. LED lights look brighter, but then when you turn the lights off, they're not brighter. They're far from brighter. They just slice at your eyes. That's what they do. LED lights are like lasers. They slice your eyes open. But, just like on the road, they just boom. They're like a direct laser shot, basically right at your eyeballs. Where halogens, they go all over. It spreads. It kind of spreads, and it looks beautiful. And that's what this tree that I'm sitting next to does for me. That's what it does. I just love it. It still has that old effect from back in the day. That it's a charm that can never be matched. It can't be because very few trees have that classic old light scheme on them. Luckily, they still make that style. Because I only got this tree like a year ago. Of course, unfortunately, it is a fake tree because this is an apartment, and they're not going to allow real trees in apartments. My parents have a beautiful Fraser, though. Oh, I helped go get that at Menards, believe it or not. Thing turned out to be an absolute gem. Absolute gem. Nothing beats real trees, but this quote-unquote fake tree is hitting the spot pretty nicely in an apartment, despite the noisy, annoying people upstairs that I just oofda, just put oofda in front of that word and leave it alone. It brings a charm that I will always appreciate. Because unfortunately, my parents have LED, and they didn't choose it. That's just the way it is. Some of those halogens, they get old and they die, and that's probably why LEDs are around, because they don't die as easily. That's what it is. It's they conserve less energy and they live longer. In fact, they live downright forever, pretty much, LED lights. But I don't know. I'll take halogen any day. I like the old style, man. I like the old style because it brings back memories that last a lifetime. They last a lifetime. I'll still remember the 92 Christmas, 91, 92 when I'm 91, 92 years old. Same with the 84. Once the memory's there, it's not going away. If it's still there when I'm 40 years old now, it ain't going away. So, I don't know. I don't know what even drugged me into that thought. Probably just looking at it. And as we head to the end of the show here, I'll give out some contact details, a quick as well here for joining the show with your voice, like Man Martin can do at times. I hope he does again. I miss it, especially as we head into the postseason, because there will be a playoff game, at least one, hopefully 3 or 4. That'd be great, depending on how things go. Yeah, 4 playoff games, that's a wild card all the way to the Super Bowl. 3, maybe a first-round bye all the way to the Super Bowl, or NFC Championship game. We'll see what happens. I want to go all the way, man. But to do that, simply use the built-in application on any smart device on the planet. Voice recording application. Just click record, start talking, treat it like a phone call, hit stop, save it, and then email it to /send it to paladinolive@yahoo.com. paladinolive@yahoo.com. I will then convert it into an MP3 file, just like I did today with audio clip I was trying to use for future sound bites. I downloaded a whole episode of the Courtside Podcast and cut out a piece of it because it was really funny, where Vince Germano was calling Mike D'Antoni a peanut, as I like to say in Australia, peanut as in peanut brain, like his brain's tiny. I love Australians so much, and of course New Zealanders as well. Love you all, guys, Iowa and locally. But I'm just saying, love those Australians and New Zealanders. You guys are just the greatest. I love it. Very good sense of humor and all that. But no, I will then change it over with those websites, Zamzar or Converto.com, into an MP3 file. Then I can edit it, or, well, not edit it, but put it into the editing software to lead things off for the fan interaction segment like I like to do whenever there is a call-in. So, Brent Jacobson, if you're listening, how you'd like to call into that number in the past, that 736-7877, that one. That one's no longer around. We're going to go to the audio submission route, which you could do on your phone anytime. It's easier. And once you email it to me, because you just personally email it to me, I'm going to get it right away, just like that. You don't have to worry about it going to somebody else and then that somebody sending it to me like it was before. So, Brent Jacobson, if you are listening, which I believe you are, hopefully, do that again if you could. Yeah, like go that route if you can. And of course, Mad Martin, Tanae Brown, Mark Carlson, Gerald String, who I didn't hear from this week, must have been busy. Happens, guys, get busy, boy. Gerald String out of Nebraska, Celestar Thomas, it'd be great to hear from you that way. Sebastian Pardon, any of you. Brett McCarthy, I could go on forever. You guys are the greatest ever, man. That's why I keep doing the show. That's why I keep doing it. If you guys weren't around, I would have quit. I would have quit and just been much more casual, just watching games and, this game sucks, I'm going to go for a walk, that type of thing. But when I'm doing a podcast, I ain't going to say, this game sucks, I'm going for a walk. I got to see what's going to happen. See if there's any blow-ups on the sidelines or guys get hurt or whatever it is. With that said, wish all of you continued enjoyable Christmas season, holiday season, Christmas season. I'm going to call it the Christmas season because to me that's just what it is. But again, those of you that maybe support, Hanukkah season, Kwanzaa season, hope you all are doing well as well. God bless you, and we will talk to you next week where hopefully the Vikings are 10-4.